Hi everyone, this is Ruchi Kulkarni, and today we are going to do the chapter If I Were You, written by Douglas James from your book Beehive. If I Were You by Douglas James is an interesting play that has mystery, suspense, surprise, and humor. There are only two characters in this play, a playwright named Gerard and a criminal who is referred to as an intruder. It is a story in which an intruder intends to kill Gerard and take his place to escape the law, but the tables are turned on him when he is trapped due to Gerard's presence of mind. And in a way, this play brings out that intelligence and presence of mind can help us come out of trickiest of situations. So, in this session, let's read and understand this play, followed by significance of the title, moral, summary, and question answers at the end. But first, about the author, Douglas James. Sir Douglas James Jardine was born on 13th October 1888. He was a British colonial administrator holding the posts of Governor of North Borneo, Sierra Leone, and the Leeward Islands during his career. In 1916, he became Secretary to Administration in British Somaliland. In 1921, Douglas became Senior Assistant Secretary of Nigerian Secretariat. He was Deputy Chief Secretary in Tanganyika from 1927 to 28. He was appointed CMG in 1932. In 1934, he was appointed Governor and Commander-in-Chief of North Borneo, a post he held until 1937. Later that year, he was appointed Governor of Sierra Leone and then Governor of Leeward Islands from 1941 to 43. He was appointed KCMG in 1938. His famous publications are The Handbook of Cyprus in 1913 and 1919, The Mad Mullah of Somaliland in 1923, Memorandum on Direct Rule and the System of Administration of the Natives of North Borneo in 1935, and If I Were You, which is a drama. Douglas died on 11th December 1946. Gerard lives alone in a lonely cottage. An intruder, who is a criminal, enters his cottage. An intruder is a person who goes or intrudes into a building with a criminal intention. He intends to murder Gerard and take on his identity. Intends means wants. So, this play has got two main characters. First is Gerard, who is basically a playwright. A playwright is a person who writes plays. And he used to live alone in a small home or in a small cottage. And one day, a person with criminal intentions comes in his cottage. Now, a person who comes like that or who enters a building is called as an intruder. And therefore, in this play, the second character is referred to as intruder. And this person or this intruder wants to murder Gerard and take on his identity or live in that cottage just like Gerard. But does he actually succeed in his plans? Well, that's the story what we are going to read today, and let's move to the reading and explanation. On page number 138, we have this table of words and meanings. We will do this at the end after we understand the meanings as we read on this chapter. So let's move to the reading and explanation. Scene: a small cottage interior. Interior means the inside space. There is an entrance back right which may be curtained. Another door to the left must be a practical door. A practical door is a door that is used more often. The furniture is simple, consisting of a small table towards the left, a chair or two, and a divan rather upstage on the right. Divan is a couch or a sofa where people can sit. On the table is a telephone. When the curtain rises, Gerard is standing by the table making a phone call. He is of medium height and wearing horn rimmed glasses. Horn rimmed glasses are spectacles in the shape of horns. He is dressed in a lounge suit and a great coat. His voice is cultured. A lounge suit is a formal suit, and cultured means well mannered. Let's first understand the scene of this play or the setting of this play. The setting is of a small cottage, the interior of that cottage, and there is an entrance on the back right where there is a curtain which is covered with a curtain. There's another door to the left which is probably more used, and the furniture in that room is very simple, which consists of a small table towards the left hand side, a chair or two, and a divan, which is rather on the right. Now, and there is a table on which a telephone is kept. Now, when the curtain rises or when the play starts, a man named Gerard is standing by the table and he is making a phone call. Gerard is of medium height. He is wearing spectacles which are shaped of horn, and he is dressed in a formal suit with a big coat. And while he is speaking, his voice seems very well mannered and sophisticated. Well, tell him to phone up directly. I must know. Yes, I expect I'll still be there, but you mustn't count on that. In about 10 minutes' time? Right ho. Goodbye. He puts down the phone and goes to the divan on the left where there is a traveling bag and starts packing. While he is thus engaged means busy, another man, similar in build to Gerard, enters from the right silently, revolver in hand. Revolver is a gun. He is flashily dressed in an overcoat and a soft hat. Flashily dressed means he is dressed in bright colors. He bumps accidentally against the table, and at the sound, Gerard turns quickly. Why, this is a surprise, Mr. I'm glad you're pleased to see me. I don't think you will be pleased for long. Put your paws up. Paws means arms. This is all very melodramatic, not very original, perhaps, but melodramatic means emotions shown more than required. Trying to be calm and nonchalant is your word, I think. Nonchalant means not showing excitement or interest. Thanks a lot. You'll soon stop being smart. I'll make you crawl. I want to know a few things. See? Gerard is speaking on the phone. He says that the person should call him up directly. He also adds that he'll reach in 10 minutes and bids goodbye and puts the receiver back on the phone. Then he goes to the divan and starts packing the stuff in a traveling bag. And while he is busy packing, there's another man who enters the cottage from the right side. He has a gun and he is dressed in bright colored dress. He is wearing an overcoat and a soft hat. But when he bumps into the table, Gerard hears that noise and he quickly turns around at the sound. Gerard tells him that this was a surprise, but this line represents irony, which means that the surprise was not in a pleasant way. It was an unpleasant surprise, but this sentence is used in ironical manner. The intruder tells him that he is also very pleased, but he won't be pleased for long, and he tells Gerard to put his arms up because he was carrying a gun. Gerard thinks that he is being very overly emotional and he was not sounding very original. The intruder tells Gerard to stop being smart or over smart, otherwise, he'll torture him or kill him with the gun. But the intruder also tells Gerard that he wanted to know a few things. Now, let's see what he asks. Anything you like. I know all the answers. But before we begin, I should like to change my position. You may be comfortable, but I am not. Sit down there and no funny business. Motions to a chair and sits himself on the divan by the bag. Now then, we'll have a nice little talk about yourself. At last, a sympathetic audience. Now, this expression, at last, a sympathetic audience, means that Gerard wants to say that the intruder was concerned about him. But this again is an ironical statement. It's an irony because it is a contrast to the reality. I'll tell you the story of my life, how as a child I was stolen by the gypsies, and why at the age of 32 I find myself in my lonely Essex cottage. Now, Essex Cottage is the name of the cottage where Gerard was living. Keep it to yourself and just answer my questions. You live here alone? Well, do you? I'm sorry. I thought you were telling me, not asking me. A question of inflection. Your voice is unfamiliar. Inflection is a change in voice. Do you live here alone? And if I don't answer, you've got enough sense not to want to get hurt. I think good sense is shown more in the ability to avoid pain than in the mere desire to do so. What do you think, Mr. Uh, Now, when the conversation between Gerard and Intruder starts, Gerard wants to sit down. Intruder lets him sit down on the divan and then they start with their conversation. Gerard is ironically expressing that he has a sympathetic audience, means a person who is very concerned about him. But that was again a contrast to the actual reality. Gerard wanted to tell the story of his life, how as a child he was stolen by gypsies. Gypsies are people who are nomads, who move from one place to another, and why at the age of 32 he came to that cottage. But Intruder was not interested in knowing all this, and so he cuts him short. Intruder only wanted to know whether he lived there alone or with someone else. Gerard asked, what if he doesn't answer that question? Then Intruder tells him that he might get hurt or he might kill Gerard on that. Gerard thought that it was a good sense to show more in the ability to avoid pain rather than showing a desire to do so. And then at the end, he wanted to know the intruder's name. Let's see whether the intruder tells his name or not. Never mind my name. I like yours better, Mr. Gerard. What are your Christian names? Vincent Charles. Do you run a car? Run a car means drive a car or possess a car. No, that's a lie. You're not dealing with a fool. I'm as smart as you and smarter. And I know you run a car. Better be careful, wise guy. Wise guy means a smart person. Are you American? Or is that merely a clever imitation? Listen, this gun's no toy. I can hurt you without killing you and still get my answers. Of course, if you put it like that, I'll be glad to assist you. I do possess a car and it's in the garage round the corner. That's better. Do people often come out here? Very rarely. Surprisingly, few people take the trouble to visit me. There's the baker and the greengrocer. Greengrocer is a fruit and vegetable seller, of course, and then there's the milkman, quite charming, but no one so interesting as yourself. I happen to know that you never see tradespeople. Tradespeople means merchants. So the intruder does not tell his name, but he wants to know Gerard's full name or the Christian name, which is Vincent Charles. When intruder asked Gerard whether he had a car or not, at first Gerard denied. He said no. He lied. But the intruder knew the truth. When the intruder asked him which people often come there to visit him, for which Gerard answered that people very rarely visited him. There were only this baker and greengrocer and the milkman who used to come, but all these people were not as interesting as Intruder. Intruder then tells him that he knows that he is never interested in merchants. You seem to have taken a considerable amount of trouble. Since you know so much about me, won't you say something about yourself? You've been so modest. Modest means humble. I could tell you plenty. You think you're smart, but I am the top of the class found here. I've got brains and I use them. That's how I've got where I have. And where precisely have you got? Precisely means exactly. It didn't require a great brain to break into my little cottage. When you know why I have broken into your little cottage, you'll be surprised. And it won't be a pleasant surprise. With you figuring so largely in it, that is understandable. By the way, what particular line of crime do you embrace? Or aren't you a specialist? My specialty is jewel robbery. Your car will do me a treat. It's certainly a dandy bus. A dandy bus means a stylish car. I'm afraid jewels are few and far between in the wilds of Essex. Few and far means very rarely found. So are the cops. I can retire here nicely for a little while. Retire means rest. You mean to live with me? A trifle sudden, isn't it? You've not been invited. Trifle means quarrel. Gerard told Intruder that he had taken a lot of trouble in knowing about him. But the intruder did not tell anything about himself. Gerard wanted to know more, but the intruder stopped him from getting any answers. So Gerard asked him whether he was a specialist of any kind of crime or not. And at that, the intruder told him that his specialty was in jewel robbery. But when he has come here, he has different surprise for Gerard. And that surprise won't be very pleasant. The area where Gerard lived was very far, it was inside the wild or jungles of Essex. And so the jewels there will be very rarely found. And as much as jewels, the cops were also very rare in that area. The intruder knew that Gerard was living alone in a very isolated area where the cops never came or they rarely came, and therefore he had an intention of living with Gerard. Gerard was surprised to hear that intruder was going to live with him. You won't be here long, so I didn't trouble to ask. What do you mean? This is your big surprise. I am going to kill you. A little harsh, isn't it? With heavy sarcasm. Sarcasm means humor. Yeah, I'll be sorry to do it. I've taken a fancy to you, but it's just got to be done. Taken a fancy to someone is an idiom which means to like someone. Why add murder to your other crimes? It's a grave step you're taking. Grave means serious. I'm not taking it for fun. I've been hunted long enough. I'm wanted for murder already, and they can't hang me twice. You're planning a gratuitous double, so to speak. Gratuitous double means something done without reasoning. Admitted, you've nothing to lose, but what have you to gain? I've got freedom to gain. As for myself, I'm a poor hunted rat. As Vincent Charles Gerard, I am free to go places and do nothing. I can eat well and sleep and without having to be ready to beat it at the sight of a cop. To beat it means to leave immediately. In most melodramas, the villain is foolish enough to delay his killing long enough to be frustrated. You're much luckier. The intruder told Gerard that he is going to murder Gerard and take on his identity. The intruder had already murdered somebody and he was escaping the police. So, by taking Gerard's identity, that is, as Vincent Charles Gerard, he can go to places freely and do nothing. He can eat well and sleep without getting stressed at the sight of a cop or a police. Now, Gerard at the end tells that in most melodramas, that is over emotional plays, the villain is very foolish because he delays his killing so long enough that he becomes frustrated. But here, in this case, the intruder is interested in killing Gerard as soon as possible so that he can take on the identity and escape the cops. I'm okay. I've got a reason for everything. I'm going to be Vincent Charles Gerard. See? I've got to know what he talks like. Now I know that posh stuff comes easy. Posh stuff here means that well mannered tone of talking. This is Mr. V.C. Gerard speaking. Pantomime or phoning in imitation cultured voice. This line means that the intruder copied the style of speaking of Gerard. And that's not all. He stands up. Get up a minute. Gerard stands. Now take a look at me. You're not particularly decorative. You're not particularly decorative means you're not acting very attractive. No, well, that goes for you too. I've only got to wear specs and I'll be enough like you to get away with it. What about your clothes? They'll let you down if you're not careful. That'll be all right. Yours will fit me fine. That is extremely interesting, but you seem to miss the point of my remark. I said, you were luckier than most melodramatic villains. It was not a tribute to your intelligence. Tribute means pay respect. You won't kill me for a very good reason. So that's what you think? You'll let me go and thank God you didn't shoot sooner. Come on, what's on your mind? Better be quick. This conversation bores me. The intruder replied that he was fine because he was doing this for a reason. That is, he was going to kill Gerard for a reason. He wanted to live on the stolen identity of Vincent Charles Gerard. That is, kill Vincent Charles Gerard and live as Gerard. He enacted Gerard's style of speaking, which he had learned when he had overheard Gerard talking on the phone. The intruder mimed Gerard and also asked how was his performance. Obviously, Gerard did not like it, but Gerard told him that if he is not careful by wearing good clothes or something like that, then he can be caught. Gerard also told that it was very interesting. By this, Gerard wanted to tell the intruder that he should not kill him for a very good reason. And if he didn't shoot sooner, which means he would thank God and he let him go. The intruder did not understand what Gerard was speaking, and so he told him to explain. Your idea is to elude the police by killing me and taking on my identity. Elude means escape. Yes, I like the idea. But are you sure it's going to help you? Now, listen here. I've got this all planned. I did a job in town, things went wrong, and I killed a cop. Since then, I have done nothing but dodge. Dodge means to avoid. And this is where dodging has brought you. It brought me to Aylesbury. Aylesbury is the name of a place. That's where I saw you in the car. Two other people saw you and started to talk. I listened. It looks like you're a bit queer. Queer means strange, kind of a mystery man. A mystery which I propose to explain. You phone your orders and sometimes you go away suddenly and come back just the same. Those are just the things I want to do. Hearing about you was one of my luckiest breaks. Apparently, you haven't the intelligence to ask why I am invested in this cloak of mystery. This sentence, invested in this cloak of mystery, means why he was mysterious for people or why Gerard had adopted this mysterious behavior. Gerard asked the intruder whether he was sure that his plan would help him and escape the police. The intruder said that he had planned everything, and then he tells about his own life. He did a job in the town, and something went wrong, and he murdered a policeman. And since that day, he was on the run. The police was after him. While he was on the run, he reached a town called Aylesbury. There he saw Gerard and overheard two men discussing him. Their discussion revealed that Gerard was strange and mysterious. Gerard then requested that he must be given a chance to explain that mystery that surrounded him. But the intruder did not pay much attention to Gerard's request. He knew that Gerard would order things over the phone, would go away and return suddenly. He also wanted to do such things like Gerard. And getting to know of Gerard was the luckiest happening to him. So apparently, the intruder had taken a lot of information about Gerard. He exactly knew how Gerard lived, to whom he talked, and he wore clothes like. So the intruder thought that meeting Gerard and by killing him and taking over his identity was his luckiest break. But Gerard wanted to tell the intruder why he seemed so mysterious for people, or why had he adopted such a lifestyle which seemed mysterious to people. As I said before, this conversation bores me. Don't be a fool. If you shoot, you'll hang for sure. If not as yourself, then as Vincent Charles Gerard. What is this? This is your big surprise. I said you wouldn't kill me, and I was right. Why do you think I'm here today and gone tomorrow, never see tradespeople? You say my habits would suit you. You are a crook. Crook means criminal. Do you think I am a Sunday school teacher? A Sunday school teacher means an honest man. The game's up as far as I am concerned. Things went wrong with me. I said it with bullets and got away. Unfortunately, they got one of my men and found things the fool should have burnt. Tonight, I am expecting trouble. My bag's packed, ready to clear off. There it is. It's a bag, all right? And this is a gun, all right? What's all this? That's a disguise outfit. False mustaches and what not. Now, do you believe me? Disguise means to give a different appearance to hide the real one. Now Gerard warned the intruder not to act foolishly. If he shot at him, he would be hanged to death. He also added that even if he stole Gerard's identity, he would still be hanged to death. And that was a big surprise to the intruder. Gerard told him that the reason behind his being a secretive man was, or his not having visitors and his activities being suitable for the intruder, was that he was also a wrong man. Gerard was not an honest man like a school teacher. His game got over when he had to kill someone with a gun. One of Gerard's accomplices got caught by the police. They got the evidence against Gerard from him, and that particular night, Gerard was expecting that the police could raid his house to catch him, and so he had packed his bag and was ready to escape. The intruder had no clue to all this. He agreed that Gerard had a bag and a gun, but why was he carrying that odd stuff like artificial mustaches, wigs, and props? Gerard replied that he was carrying these props so that he could give a change to his appearance in order to hide himself, and he hoped that intruder should believe him. I don't know. For God's sake, clear that muddled head of yours and let's go. Muddled head means confusion. Come with me in the car. I can use you. If you find it's a frame means false or lie, you've got me in the car and you've still got your gun. Maybe you're right. Then don't waste time. Goes and picks up hat and bag. Careful, boss. I'm watching you. I've got a man posted on the main road. He'll ring up if he sees the police. But I don't want to leave. Telephone bill rang. Come on. They are after us. Through here straight to the garage. Gerard requested the intruder to believe his words and accompany him in his car. He also added that intruder could help him escape, and if he felt that Gerard's words were false, then he could kill him with his gun. The intruder believed Gerard and said that probably he was right. Gerard was in a hurry. He picked up his hat and bag, but then Gerard said that one of his accomplices, that is, his supporters, had been positioned on the road to warn him if he saw the police. And just then the telephone bell rang. So Gerard got the hint that it was time for him to leave because the police can come there anytime. And he directed the intruder to leave through the garage door. How do I know that you are telling the truth? Oh, don't be a fool. Look for yourself. Gerard opens door and steps away. Intruder leans forward to inspect it, with his side towards Gerard, but with a revolver ready. As he turns his head, Gerard gives him a push into the cupboard, knocking the revolver out of his hand. He slams the door and locks it, picks up the revolver and goes to the phone, where he stands with the gun pointed at the cupboard door. Let me out of here. Hello? Yes, speaking. Sorry, I can't let you have the props in time for rehearsal. Props are the things which are used by actors to change their appearance. I've had a spot of bother. Spot of bother is an idiom which means something that causes inconvenience or trouble. Quite amusing. I think I'll put it in my next play. Now, this expression, I will put it in my next play, tells us that Gerard was a playwright, that is, he used to write plays, and he will narrate or put this incident in his next play, which he'll write. Listen, can you tell our friend the sergeant to come up here at once? You'll probably find him in the public bar. The intruder was doubtful whether Gerard was telling him the truth or not, but Gerard said that the intruder should not be foolish. He asked him to see for himself. He opened the door and stepped to one side so that the intruder could see outside. The intruder bent forward with the gun still pointed towards Gerard, and as he turned his head, Gerard pushed him into the cupboard. So the door which the intruder had opened was not of the garage, it was of a cupboard. And that was the plan of Gerard. When Gerard pushed the intruder into the cupboard, the gun fell off intruder's hand and Gerard closed the door and he locked it. After that, Gerard picked up the revolver and walked towards the phone because the phone was ringing. He pointed the gun towards the cupboard in case the intruder tried to escape. Gerard answered the phone and said that he would not be able to deliver the props in time for the rehearsal of the play because he had been troubled by someone. He added that he would add this incident to his next play. So, this all shows that Gerard was a playwright. He asked the person on the other side of the phone to send the sergeant to his resident who must be sitting in a public bar. If I Were You is a very appropriate title. It refers to the wishful thinking of the intruder who wants to assume Gerard's identity because he wanted to escape the law. But this idea of the intruder remains unfulfilled as he is trapped by Gerard and handed over to police. His dream to impersonate Gerard is quashed, and the if in If I Were You suggests that his wish did not become a concrete reality. The title, therefore, hints at the basic idea of the story and is therefore very apt. This play gives the message that overconfidence can lead to trouble. One should never consider oneself to be smarter than the opponent, as is done by this intruder in the play who thinks that Gerard is no match for him. This play conveys the message that intelligence, the presence of mind, and cool headedness can help us overcome the most serious of problems that we may encounter. Therefore, whenever you fall into any trouble, be sure that you keep your mind present at that time and act according to your intelligence. That's all in today's session, and I'll be flashing the summary and question answers related to this chapter. I'll see you again in my next video with a new topic. Till then, take good care of yourself and goodbye.